All right, so finally getting around to the After Effects tutorial for our editors on how to create some marquee boards for the red sign out in front of school. So when we open After Effects, you're usually greeted with a screen like this. And they don't call them timelines in After Effects, they call them compositions because you're typically working on just one shot at a time or one thing at a time. It's not like you're going to have your whole movie down here. You're going to have just the one shot. So for our marquee boards, we're going to do a new composition, and here it's asking for all of our settings. And we are going to create a new one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the width, the pixels on that board out front are 240 pixels wide, and we're going to have to unlock the aspect ratio here and put in 64 pixels tall. Oops, undo all that. Let's see, new composition. Okay, 240 by 64 and square pixels, that's for sure. Our frame rate's only going to be 15 frames per second, and we're going to make our duration 20 seconds. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit this little new button here, and that should save this as a preset. So whenever we need to build another marquee, we don't have to go through this process of remembering the numbers and typing them in again. So we're going to call this Deer Valley Marquee Board. There we go. And now it should be, boom, at the bottom of the list. So even if you start up with, high def video, 24 frames a second, you just go down here, Deer Valley Marquee Board, sets everything. You hit OK, and there it is. We've got a 20-second long composition line, timeline here, and here's our board. Now it's only 240 by 64, so it's pretty small. I'm going to blow it up a little bit to like 400%, so I just so I can see what I'm doing. The other thing that I like to do is I'm going to right click down here in my composition and hit a new adjustment layer. Now you remember adjustment layers from Premiere are basically clear pieces that any effect you apply to it applies to everything underneath it. And what I'm going to do with this adjustment layer is I'm going to apply an effect. So I right click on the adjustment layer and I go to effect, and I'm going to go to color correction and tint. And I'm going to change all the white pixels to red. And that way, if I put a white piece of something in here, like say for instance, if I grab a DV logo, so let's go grab a DV logo here. I should have my DV logos. There they are. Oh, it's a good here. We'll just grab the DVTV logo. Boom. Import that sucker in. And if we put it underneath the adjustment layer and scale it down so we can see it, you'll see that this is what that DVTV logo would look like out there on the board. I'm also going to lock that adjustment layer so it doesn't go anywhere. So this is what the DVTV logo looks like normally right there. But out there on that marquee board, because the marquee board only has red pixels, it's going to look like that. So we don't want to export with that on, but we want to just be able to get an idea of how our videos, our clip, our animation is going to look by turning on or off that adjustment layer. But we want to export it like this. Okay. All right. So let's get some basics of After Effects going, shall we? All right. The basics of After Effects, and we'll use this little DVTV logo we imported, are this. Remember the acronym TRAPS. So TRAPS, TRAPS. So if I click on my DVTV logo here and I click T, you see that my little I don't know what to call it, my little effect that I'm working on here changes to opacity. So I remember T stands for transparency. So if I push T on this layer, it brings up transparency, and I can adjust how transparent something is. And of course, my little everything in After Effects, it's all about the keyframes. So by clicking this little stopwatch here, you see it says vary stopwatch, toggle the ability of a property to change over time. So the property is transparency right now. So if I start at 100%, click my little stopwatch, go to like the 4-second mark on the timeline, and then bring my opacity down to 0, what happens is that as I play my video, you'll see my DVTV logo over 4 seconds gradually disappear uh, down to 0. There we go. So it starts full, disappears to 0. And if I go ahead again, maybe to the 10-second mark here, and then bring my value back to 100, now it's going to drop down to 0 slowly. And then it's going to come back up from 0 back to 100% at the 10-second mark right there. Now I could move these keyframes, bring them closer together. So now it's going to go really fast. It's going to go from 100% to 0 to 100 really quickly. Look, it did it all over the course of 2 seconds. Or maybe I want it to drop down really fast and then take a really long time to come back to 100. So now it's going to drop down really fast and then take a really long time to come back. Okay, so that's how we use our keyframes. So let's make some pretty basic ones here. So T for transparency. So we've animated the transparency of my little logo here. R, the next letter in Traps is R, and that stands for rotation. So now I could add some rotation to my DVTV logo, and I could keyframe that as well. So I'm going to have it start at 0, then I'm going to have it flip upside down, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to have it go back to right side up. So now not only am I fading, but I'm also spinning. Right? Here we go. And I could have it spin like crazy, like instead of only 1 rotation, let's have it do 25 rotations. Whoa! Right? It's can barely even keep up with what it's doing there. All right? So that's TR. A is for anchor point. So you see this little bullseye in the middle of the DVTV logo, and that's the point that it's rotating around right now. And so if I change that anchor point to maybe be the eye of the Wolverine, right? If I kind of click and drag, there we go. Now it's going to spin around the eye. Wherever that anchor point is wherever we're going to spin. So if you download an image of a basketball or something and you want that basketball to spin, but maybe the image you downloaded is a little bit off center and it's not spinning quite correctly and it's kind of spinning in a weird way, you could adjust the anchor point and make it spin around the center of the basketball. So that's TRA for transparency, rotation, and anchor point. P is for position. So I'm going to set my position now. I'm going to have my little logo start all the way over here on the edge. Click my keyframe and then go forward. I'm going to slide it across. And so now my logo spins like crazy and then it slides across the video. So we're adding all these different keyframes. It's fading, it's spinning. We've adjusted the anchor point and now we're adjusting the position of our logo. So TRAP. And then the last one is S for scale. So if we click our layer and click S for scale, now we can adjust the scale as well. So maybe we start that size and maybe get a little bit bigger. And then as we go, we'll get a little bit smaller again. And so now it's going to do all the things, TRAPS. There we go. And it's sliding in and doing its thing. Okay, so that is the basics of After Effects, is TRAPS traps. Now, obviously, you can get way more crazy with it if you want, but we're just trying to make some little animations that say "Welcome to Deer Valley," things like that. You could use DV logos. You could use anything you want. So I've just been working with this logo, but obviously I can right-click down here and do new text, and so I can type some text. Welcome to Deer Valley, something like that. Let's get that to be a little more good size. Grab my arrow tool here, and I could change my font to something cool. There we go. Let's hide our DV logo at the moment. There we go. And After Effects also has a lot of pre-made tools for text, which is really nice. So in fact, if I go to Effects and Presets right here and click it and let it load for a second, because it's probably the first time it's been clicked in a while. There we go. And Animation Presets and Text, you get all these fancy text presets, like let's do one like blurs, and let's do foggy in. So if I move my timeline scrubber here to kind of the beginning, grab foggy in and drop that on my text, my welcome to Deer Valley text, you'll see it's gonna, ooh, that looks pretty slick. I actually kind of like that one. Welcome to Deer Valley, right? And then you could have like the little Wolverine claws come in maybe on this side and on this side, maybe use like a position, maybe have some sparkles behind it. I don't know, right? You kind of have to, I like to work on paper first and kind of just think like, what do I want this design to look like? I want the Welcome to Deer Valley to slide in or fall in or foggy in, right? And then I could use my transparency maybe to make it fade out after a while, right? I could have it just fade out. So now it's gonna foggy in, and it's gonna hold until about here, and then it's gonna fade out like that, right? I could put some of the different Deer Valley logos on it. I could put a background on it, whatever I want to do. And then I could look and see how it's going to look out there on the board. It's going to look red like this, right? That's what it's going to look like. Or my flying around DVTV logo that's kind of out of place, but kind of works, right? So we want to kind of think, what do we want it to look like? How do we want the pieces to move? And then it's just a matter of, having those things slide in or fade in or rotate in or out, using traps, using maybe some of these different animation presets for the text to make it work for you. So let me turn off this adjustment layer so we can see what we're working with again here. And there's another two tricks I want to show you real quick. Now you can just kind of keep hitting T for transparency and R for rotation, A and all those things, but we've got a lot of anchor points. And so another key that I really like that I refer to as the ultimate key is U. So when you hit U, it shows you every property that has a keyframe associated with it. So you see, yep, there's our position keyframes, there's our scale keyframes, our rotation, opacity. So maybe we can line them up a little better, right? We can make them all kind of hit at the same point, if you need things to hit kind of exactly so. So you've got that going for you. Another thing that you could do is I'm going to turn off the text, the Deer Valley text right now. You see that when this Deer Valley logo spins, and I'm going to crank the opacity here for a second just so it doesn't ever disappear on us. It kind of spins and it just kind of is very choppy. But when things spin, they usually get blurry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little motion blur tick box here. And now when my logo spins, because it's spinning very fast, you see when it spins slowly, it's only got a tiny bit of blur on it. But when we really start to spin it, it really starts to blur. So we've got that added. And then also our blur, our spinning DV logo just kind of abruptly stops. So if I take my rotation keyframe here, this one that stops it, and I right click on it and go to keyframe assistant and hit easy ease in. Now, instead of just abruptly stopping, it should kind of slow to a stop a little bit. Pardon me. I haven't talked this much in like 3 weeks since school ended, so my voice isn't used to it. So you can always use, I almost think it's pretty common to just ease all your keyframes. It just makes some things feel a little less robotic. Things feel a little more organic. They kind of have like an acceleration and a speed to them that works a little bit better, as opposed to kind of being very robotic. All right, so we got that going for us. Let's go back to our welcome to Deer Valley text here. You know what? I decided I don't like this foggy fog thing here. So again, I can hit U to find my keyframes that are on the text, and I can just click delete and get rid of them. And now my, I don't know where my text went actually. Let's see here. There we go. Now there's no more. It just has my little opacity I added. So we got rid of the foggy fog. Let's grab a different one. Let's go here and grab something under mechanical. Algorithm in. And drop that on there. That one's a little bit messy, so I'm going to Control Z that. Let's try Doppler. Oh, there we go. That's pretty sweet. Something like that. It's all over the place. That one's a little crazy. I don't know. So you kind of have to guess and check a little bit on some of these. All right, but instead of like guessing and checking a bunch, I'll throw this link in the chat. And it's an easy way to see all of the different
presets and how they work. It's just the name. Like there's Foggy In, the one that we're using before, and it's in the folder that it's in. So you can just kind of quickly look through all of these and find the one you want instead of having to guess and check a bunch of times. So maybe let's see here. Slide in by line. Smooth move ins, pretty cool. Typewriter is always great. Wipe into center might work. Ooh, what about transporter? I like transporter. And that is right here under blurs. So I'm going to grab transporter in, drop that on my welcome to Deer Valley, and that should, there it is. Oh, I've got the warp on it still too. So control both of those, control Z, there we go. Just drop transporter in on it. There we go. That looks cool. There we go. And then, like I said, maybe I put a little background on it, maybe some, if I go here and search for some kind of like YouTube, what would I search for? Calm background graphic animation. Here we go. Let's see what we find. Oh yeah, now we're talking. You throw something like this behind your video, right? Something like that in the background to look really sick. Give it a nice look. Really simple to do that.
Okay, and last thing is when you're all done, this is obviously not a completely done animation here, but when you're ready to export, we want to make sure that we have the adjustment layer turned off. We don't want to, we want to export it in color, even though it's not going to show in color. If you export it red like this, basically what you're doing is you are going to make it darker than you want. Like if I duplicate this adjustment layer, that's what it would look like on the board because you're throwing red at a board that can only show red, and so the luminosity of each pixel is going to be lessened. So we want to make sure that we have that adjustment layer turned off when we export. We're going to push Control M, just like we always do. Down here under Output Module, we're going to export this as lossless, and then we're going to output it to, I don't know, somewhere safe, and make sure it's an AVI file. And that way it should only be about 10 to 15 megabytes, and that should be very simple to send to me through Teams. But that's the file type that the board takes. It does not take MP4s. Oh man, look at this. This is some old-timey stuff right here. I was messing with this the other day. These are some old animations that I made for the A's on their old scoreboard, which didn't even have colors. It literally had black or white. Those were your only choices. And so you had to really get creative with what you're doing. So great play right there whenever they would make a great play. Or let's see, I think I had a couple that used some. There we go. Look at that one. Great noise when we needed the crowd to get loud. Made that one. If the A's won the game, I'd play this one at the end of the game. A's win, win, win. And then the great one, if there's a home run or something like that, you put the great Bill King with Holy Toledo up there. And that board was very small. That board was 112 by 64. But that board was like, 50 feet tall or something like that. So it was pretty low resolution. I don't have any of the ones with dithering, but that's pretty cool. All right, sidetrack over. Yeah, once you have your composition done, make sure the adjustment layer is off. Set your settings and then hit render, or you tell it where to go, obviously. So I'm gonna put this on the desktop. I'm gonna call it DVTV example like that, and then we're gonna hit render, and it's gonna render it out. It's gonna make a nice little noise when it's done. And now if I go to import, there should be one on my desktop called DVTV example. Yep, there she is. And now it's a video. Now the animation's baked in, and it's all there forever. All right, there we go.
So you can text me on Teams if you have any questions about how to use After Effects, and just kind of sketch out, right? I want the text to come in, I want the text to go out, in what kind of way? I want the graphics, right? I want maybe the Wolverine scratches or the Wolverine logo, and I'll throw a bunch of those files, Deer Valley logos and stuff that are really high quality for you in the Teams chat as well. All right. Let me know how it goes. Good luck. But it's a lot of exploring and experimenting and guessing and checking and just getting comfortable in After Effects. And this is a really great way to kind of start that because obviously After Effects is super powerful. I learned out of a book, so you guys can learn it from YouTube. No problem. All right, good luck.